The day my father called me trash, I was sketching cherry blossoms on graph paper at our kitchen table. He didn't yell, he simply looked at my acceptance letter to the tattoo apprenticeship program, folded it once, and said, "No child of mine ends up a needle-pushing degenerate." Then he took my sketchbook, 3 years of florals, geometric mandalas, portrait studies, and threw it into the fireplace. I watched the edges curl and blacken. He told me if I walked out that door to chase ink and needles, I'd never be his daughter again. I was 19. I walked out. 15 years later, I stood in the marble lobby of the Pinehurst Country Club, holding the deed in my hand. My company, Ember and Iron Inc., had just acquired the property as part of a luxury portfolio expansion. My assistant handed me the membership roster. Third name down, Richard Calloway. My father. And today was opening day under new management.
The fire had been dying when I grabbed my jacket. My mother stood in the hallway, arms crossed, tears tracking silent lines down her cheeks. She didn't try to stop me. My father sat in his leather recliner, scotch in hand, staring at the embers like I'd already ceased to exist. I wanted to scream. Instead, I turned the doorknob and stepped into March cold. I slept on my best friend Cassie's couch for 2 months. Mornings, I bussed tables at a diner off Route 9. Afternoons, I apprenticed under Sal Moretti, a 60-year-old artist whose shop, Iron and Ash, smelled like antiseptic and coffee. Sal had knuckles tattooed with tiny skulls and a patience that felt almost parental. He taught me to steady my hand, to listen when clients described what they couldn't say aloud, to see skin as a canvas for healing. My father had been a commercial real estate developer. He built strip malls and office parks, structures without soul. He measured success in square footage and profit margins. Art, to him, was decorative, something you hung on a wall to impress dinner guests. A tattoo was a scar you paid for, a mark of poor judgment. He'd grown up working class in Pittsburgh, fought his way into country clubs and boardrooms, and expected me to marry a lawyer or a surgeon, someone whose name could sit beside his on a bronze plaque. I was supposed to study finance. I'd been accepted to Penn, full ride. My father had framed the acceptance letter, but every night I filled notebooks with designs. Koi fish that seemed to swim, mandalas that breathed, script that curved like vines. My hands only felt real when they held a pencil. At 17, I'd gotten my first tattoo, a small constellation on my ribs, done by Sal in exchange for filing his taxes. My father saw it by accident when I reached for a glass on a high shelf. He didn't speak to me for a week. The apprenticeship offer came 2 months before graduation. Sal said I had something he couldn't teach, an instinct for composition, a way of translating emotion into line. My father said I was throwing my life away for a fad. We fought for hours. He listed every risk: hepatitis, lawsuits, poverty, regret. I told him tattooing was storytelling, that every design I made helped someone reclaim their body, their narrative. He said I was naive. I said he was scared of anything he couldn't control. The night he burned my sketchbook, I'd brought home my apprenticeship contract to sign. I thought if I showed him the structure, the health certifications, the business plan, the mentorship, he'd see it wasn't reckless. Instead, he looked at me like I'd announced I was joining a cult. "You walk out that door," he said, voice low and final, "and you're not my daughter anymore." My mother whispered, "Richard, please." He didn't blink. So I walked. Cassie's apartment was a studio above a laundromat. We ate ramen and took turns on the couch. She worked nights at a call center and never once asked me to leave. I apprenticed 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, learning to stretch skin taut, to wipe excess ink without smudging, to autoclave needles until my hands ached. Sal paid me in trade, inking my arms, my shoulders, teaching me Japanese symbolism, Celtic knots, American traditional. By the end of the first year, I had a half sleeve of peonies and a reputation among Sal's clients for delicate line work. I tried calling home once. My mother answered. I heard my father's voice in the background. If she wants to crawl back, she can apologize. I hung up. I didn't call again. Sal retired after 5 years and sold me the shop for $1. "You've already paid for it," he said, handing me the keys. I renamed it Ember and Iron after the sketchbook my father burned. The first year, I barely broke even. The second year, a bride came in wanting her late mother's handwriting tattooed on her collarbone. She posted the photo online. It went viral. By year 4, I had a wait list 6 months long. I opened a second location in Boston, then a third in Brooklyn. I hired artists I trusted, people who understood that tattoos weren't just aesthetic, they were markers of survival, love, transformation. We specialized in cover-ups for scars, memorial pieces, fine-line florals that looked like watercolor. Celebrities started flying in. A tech mogul got a geometric sleeve. A musician got her album lyrics down her spine. Forbes ran a feature, The Woman Turning Ink into Empire. I was 32. But I never forgot the feeling of watching my work burn.
By year 10, Ember and Iron Ink wasn't just a tattoo studio. It was a brand. We'd expanded into luxury collaborations, a skincare line for tattoo aftercare, a furniture collection inspired by studio aesthetics, a digital platform where clients could commission custom designs from artists worldwide. Revenue hit $800 million. I was featured in Time, Vogue Business, Entrepreneur. People called me visionary. I called myself stubborn. I still inked clients twice a week. A widow wanting her husband's last words, a cancer survivor marking her reconstruction, a father getting his daughter's birth date inside a compass rose. I needed the chair, the hum of the machine, the intimacy of trust. Corporate strategy felt hollow without it. My COO, Marissa Chen, a Yale MBA who'd left Goldman to join me, said I was the only CEO she knew who scheduled board meetings around tattoo appointments. I told her that was the point. We acquired a historic building in Philadelphia, converting it into a flagship studio with an art gallery, a coffee bar, and a nonprofit wing offering free cover-ups for trafficking survivors. The mayor cut the ribbon. My mother sent flowers. No card. I didn't know if my father even knew. I'd stopped Googling him after the first year, but Marissa, ever the strategist, tracked industry news. "Your father's firm is struggling," she said one morning over coffee. "Pinehurst Country Club just foreclosed on his company's loan. It's going to auction." Pinehurst was where my father had played golf every Sunday for 20 years, where he'd hosted clients, where he'd taught me to swing a club when I was 7, back when he still smiled at me. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Find out who's bidding. 3 weeks later, Marissa walked into my office with a grin. "We just bought Pinehurst, $12 million. The board approved it as part of our luxury hospitality expansion." She slid the deed across my desk. My father's name was still on the membership roster. I stared at it for a long time. I'd built my empire on second chances, helping people rewrite their stories on their skin. But some stories needed a different kind of revision. I called our property manager. "I want to be there on opening day," I said, "and I want the full member list cross-referenced with our acquisition records." Pinehurst reopened on a Saturday in early June. We'd renovated the clubhouse, restored the oak paneling, upgraded the kitchens, added a wellness center. The greens were pristine. Our new general manager, a former hospitality director from the Ritz, greeted members at the entrance. I stood in the lobby in a tailored black suit, my tattooed arms on full display, my company logo embroidered on the breast pocket. The first members trickled in around 9. They didn't recognize me. I'd been 19, hair long, clothes thrifted. Now I was 34, hair in a sleek bun, heels sharp enough to cut. I watched them sign in, collect their golf carts, head toward the first tee. I waited. At 9:45, my father walked through the door. He wore khakis and a navy polo, the same outfit he'd worn every Sunday of my childhood. His hair was grayer, his shoulders slightly stooped, but his expression, confident, entitled, hadn't changed. He approached the front desk, pulling out his membership card. The attendant, a young man named Devin, smiled politely. "Good morning, sir. May I have your name?" "Richard Calloway," my father said, handing over the card. Devin scanned it, frowned, scanned again. "I'm sorry, Mr. Calloway, it looks like your membership has been flagged." My father's jaw tightened. Flagged? I've been a member here for 20 years. Let me get the manager, Devin said, glancing at me. I stepped forward. I'm the owner. I can help. My father looked at me. For a moment, he didn't see me, just another executive in a suit. Then his eyes caught on the ink curling up my forearm, the constellation on my wrist. His face went pale. Emma? I smiled, cold and professional. Hello, Dad. He stared at me like I was a ghost. The lobby had gone quiet. Other members hovering near the coffee station, pretending not to listen. My father's hand tightened around his membership card. What are you doing here? I own this club now, I said evenly. Ember and Iron Inc. acquired it 3 weeks ago. We're expanding into luxury hospitality. I gestured to the renovated space, the gleaming floors, the modern art on the walls, the scent of fresh flowers. You're standing in one of my properties. His mouth opened, closed. You own this? Along with 43 other locations worldwide, a skincare line, and a digital platform, we're valued at $800 million. I kept my voice calm, factual. Your membership was flagged because I personally reviewed the roster. I wanted to be here when you arrived. He took a step back, his face flushing red. You can't. This is my club. I've been a member since before I was born. I know. But the club was foreclosed on due to unpaid loans tied to your company. We bought it at auction, legally, cleanly. And as the new owner, I've implemented updated membership policies. What policies? His voice cracked. I pulled a printed sheet from my folder and handed it to him. All members must align with our brand values: respect, inclusivity, and support for the arts. We've also added a clause prohibiting discrimination based on profession or personal appearance. I paused. Tattoo artists, for instance, are welcome here. He scanned the paper, his hands shaking. This is ridiculous. You can't rewrite the rules just to... I can, I said. I'm the owner, and effective immediately, your membership is revoked. The lobby fell silent. My father's face went from red to white. You're doing this because of one argument 15 years ago? One argument? I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. You burned my work. You told me I was trash. You said I'd never be your daughter again if I walked out that door. So, I walked. I built a life. I built an empire. And I did it without you. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw something other than anger. Maybe it was regret. Maybe it was just shock. Emma, he said, quieter now. I didn't know. Your mother tried to tell me, but You what? Didn't care? Didn't believe her? I took the membership card from his hand. You taught me that success is measured in ownership and control. Congratulations, I learned. I was trying to protect you, he said, his voice breaking. I grew up with nothing. I didn't want you to struggle. I did struggle, but I also thrived. And I did it because someone believed in me when you wouldn't. I thought of Sal, of Cassie, of every client who'd trusted me with their story. You wanted me to be safe. I wanted to be real. He looked around the lobby, at the members watching, at the modern art on the walls, at the embroidered logo on my jacket. You don't understand this world you've built. I know. That's the problem. Devin cleared his throat gently. Ma'am, should I escort Mr. Calloway out? I hesitated. My father looked smaller than I remembered, older, worn. Part of me wanted to watch him walk out the same door I had, but another part, the part that spent years turning scars into art, wondered if exile was the only ending. No, I said finally. Let him stay for today, as a guest. My father blinked. What? You can play one round, use the facilities, but after today, if you want your membership reinstated, you'll need to apply like everyone else. That means an interview with me. I met his eyes. And you'll need to tell me why you think you'd be a good fit for this community.
He stared at me, speechless. I'm not doing this to humiliate you, I said quietly. I'm doing it because you taught me that respect is earned, not given. So, earn it. I turned and walked toward my office, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind me, I heard Devon say, "Mr. Calloway, your guest pass for today. Tea time is at 10:15. I didn't look back.
I spent the rest of the morning in my office, reviewing expansion plans for our next location in Milan. But my mind kept drifting to the lobby, to my father's face, the way his voice had cracked when he said protect. I'd spent 15 years building walls, telling myself I didn't need his approval. But standing there, holding his membership card, I'd felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a crack in the armor. At noon, Marissa knocked on my door. "Your father's on the 9th hole," she said. "He's playing alone. Devon says he turned down an offer to join another group." I nodded, staring at my laptop screen without seeing it. "Do you think I'm being petty?" Marissa sat down across from me. "I think you're being human. He hurt you. You have every right to protect yourself. But revenge doesn't usually feel as good as people think it will." She leaned forward. "You didn't revoke his membership to punish him. You did it to see if he'd fight for it, to see if he'd finally see you." I closed my laptop. "What if he doesn't? Then you'll know, and you can stop wondering." At 2 o'clock, my father finished his round. I watched from my office window as he returned his cart, his movements slow, deliberate. He stood in the parking lot for a long time, staring at the clubhouse like he was memorizing it. Then he walked back inside. Devon called my extension. "Mr. Calloway is asking to speak with you." I took a breath. "Send him in." My father entered my office, and for a moment we just looked at each other. He took in the framed photos on my walls, magazine covers, award ceremonies, a candid shot of me inking a client, both of us laughing. His eyes lingered on a sketch tacked above my desk, a phoenix rising from ashes, the edges still rough, unfinished. "I kept drawing," I said, "after you burned my sketchbook. I bought new notebooks, filled them. I've filled hundreds since." He sat down slowly, his hands folded in his lap. "Your mother showed me articles about your company. I didn't believe her at first. I thought she was exaggerating. She wasn't."
I can see that now. He looked at me, and his eyes were damp. "I was wrong, Emma, about the tattoos, about you. I thought I was protecting you from a hard life, but I was really just protecting myself from being embarrassed, from having to explain to my friends why my daughter wasn't a lawyer or a doctor." I felt something tighten in my chest. "You could have said that 15 years ago." "I know." His voice was hoarse. "I was too proud, too angry. I told myself you'd come back, apologize, and I'd forgive you. But you didn't. You just disappeared. Built this empire I don't understand. And I realized too late that I'd lost you." I looked down at my hands, at the ink that covered them, the stories I'd carried. "You didn't lose me. You threw me away." "I did," he said quietly, "and I'm sorry." The words hung in the air. I wanted to feel vindicated, victorious, but mostly I felt tired. "Why now?" I asked. "Why not 5 years ago? 10? "Because I was a coward," he said. "Because admitting I was wrong meant admitting I'd wasted 15 years. And because today, when you could have humiliated me in front of everyone, you didn't. You gave me a chance to play, to remember what this place meant to me." He looked around my office. "I spent 20 years here pretending to be someone important. You spent 15 years becoming someone real." I swallowed hard. "I don't know if I can forgive you." "I'm not asking you to," he said. "I'm asking for a chance." I thought about the widow who'd asked me to ink her husband's last words on her ribs. She'd cried through the whole session, but afterwards she'd smiled. "It doesn't hurt anymore," she'd said. "Not the same way." Forgiveness wasn't erasure, it was transformation. "If you want your membership back," I said slowly, "you'll need to do more than apologize. You'll need to show me you understand what I built, and why it matters." "How? How?" "Come to the studio. See what we do. Meet my artists. Sit through a consultation. Understand that this isn't just ink, it's healing, it's storytelling,
It's people reclaiming their bodies after trauma, loss, illness. If you can see that, really see it, then we'll talk. He nodded, his jaw tight. When? Next Saturday. 10 a.m., Brooklyn location. I stood, signaling the meeting was over. And Dad, if you walk in with the same judgment you had 15 years ago, don't bother coming. He stood, hesitated, then extended his hand. I looked at it for a long moment before shaking it. His grip was firm but trembling. Thank you. I didn't respond. I watched him leave, the door clicking shut behind him, and then I sat down at my desk and cried.
The following Saturday, I arrived at the Brooklyn studio early. The space was my favorite. High ceilings, exposed brick, skylights that flooded the room with natural light. Framed client photos lined the walls, each one a story. A breast cancer survivor with delicate florals over her mastectomy scars, a veteran with a geometric sleeve covering shrapnel wounds, a young man with his grandmother's recipe in her handwriting down his forearm. My father arrived at 10 sharp, wearing jeans and a button-down. Casual for him, almost unrecognizable. He stood in the doorway, taking in the space. One of my artists, Lena, a Korean woman with a sleeve of cherry blossoms, waved at me from her station. "Boss, your dad?" "Yeah," I said. "Lena, this is Richard." Lena smiled, shaking his hand. "Nice to meet you. Emma talks about you." My father glanced at me, surprised. "She does?" "Not always kindly," I said lightly. Lena laughed, diffusing the tension. I walked him through the studio, explaining our process. The consultation room where clients shared their stories, the sterilization area where we autoclaved equipment, the design station where artists sketched custom pieces. My father asked questions about health regulations, client intake, business logistics. He was trying, I could tell, but he kept circling back to the mechanics, the safety protocols, the things he could quantify. "You're thinking like a businessman," I said finally, "but this isn't just a business, it's a practice." "I don't understand the difference." "Come with me." I brought him to the consultation room where a woman named Angela was waiting. She was 43, a teacher, and she'd booked a session to cover a scar from an abusive relationship, a jagged line along her collarbone where her ex-husband had shoved her into a glass table. I'd asked her permission earlier to let my father observe, explaining the situation. She'd agreed. I introduced them, and Angela told her story. My father listened, his face unreadable. When she finished, she said, "I don't want to hide it. I just want it to mean something different, something I chose." I showed her my design, a branch of wisteria, the flowers cascading along the scar line, turning the injury into growth. Angela cried. "It's perfect." I inked her slowly, carefully, narrating each step for my father. The scar tissue is tougher. It doesn't hold ink the same way. You have to work with it, not against it. You have to listen to the body. When I finished, Angela looked in the mirror. She touched the fresh ink gently, her fingers tracing the flowers. She said, "I feel like I got myself back." My father's eyes were wet. He didn't say anything, but I saw his shoulders shake. After Angela left, I cleaned my station. My father stood by the window, staring out at the Brooklyn street. He said finally, "I didn't know. I thought it was just vanity, decoration. I didn't understand. Most people don't, until they need it." He turned to face me. "When you left, I told everyone you were studying abroad. I couldn't admit that I'd driven you away. I was ashamed. Not of you, of myself. But I convinced myself you were the one who'd made the wrong choice." I set down my gloves, my hands still smelling of antiseptic. "And now? Now I see that you made the only choice you could, and that I should have fought to keep you, not to change you." He took a breath. "I don't know if I can undo 15 years, but I want to try." I thought about the Phoenix sketch above my desk, still unfinished, about the way Angela had touched her new ink, reclaiming her story. "It won't be easy," I said. "I have a lot of anger, a lot of grief." "I know, but I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere this time." I looked at him.
really looked at him. He was older, yes, but also humbled in a way I'd never seen. If you want to be part of my life, you need to understand that this is my life. The ink, the studios, the clients, this is who I am. I'm starting to see that. Good, because I'm not going to shrink myself to make you comfortable. He smiled, tentative. I wouldn't expect you to. We stood there for a moment, the studio humming with quiet activity around us. Lena was inking a geometric design on a college student's shoulder. Another artist, Marco, was consulting with a couple about matching tattoos. The air smelled of antiseptic and coffee and possibility. I said finally, I'm reinstating your membership, but on one condition. Anything. You volunteer at our nonprofit wing, once a month. You help check people in, bring them water, sit with them while they wait. I want you to see what we do from the ground up. He nodded. I'll do it. And one more thing. You owe Mom an apology too. A real one. His face softened. I know.